Welcome back. We appreciate you being with us here, as always, on the Roundtable program. Once again, appreciate my first guest spending some time with us. In this second segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about the response that's out there, not only to the tragedies that we have seen this week, but also some of the events that are happening around the area, even one happening tonight. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. We've got Amanda Aldrich here from the American Red Cross with us. Also with us is Sue Gavron. She is a disaster action team volunteer. Both of you, welcome to the Roundtable. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Boston real quick out of the gate. And as we have all watched this play out this past week, and we've seen a number of websites that have been set up. OneFundBoston.org is one place to go. Also redcross.org as far as responding to this event. But Amanda, there was a kind of an all-encompassing statement that came out earlier this week from the national organization. And when you look at the response and what they were saying in their response, they really stepped up and said, here's what we're ready to do. Here's what we're ready to say.
Right, and our role in mass casualty really is that we're there to support the government agencies and the first responders who are there. Our role is
similar to Hurricane Sandy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, for all disasters, and mass casualty I think is a little bit different than some of the others. So for like tornadoes and floods and hurricanes, those sorts of things, we have volunteers who are specifically trained to respond in a time of disaster. For the mass casualty things, we have those same volunteers or that same volunteer knowledge base, like Sue, who are able to, you have those skills. They're trained in first aid, CPR, AED. They can provide those skills there on the ground rather than wasting time trying to train everyone and briefing. We're already ready.
Yeah.
And so then we also have our emergency response vehicle, and that has capabilities to provide food, so we can set up shelters, so we can do all of those things. So we partner really. We're not the lead, we partner with these government agencies and other agencies that are there in the area, depending upon the mass casualty. It's always different. And
then is it almost assumed that there will be a call most of the time when the Red Cross needs help? It's coming to Northwest Ohio. You have been involved personally with a number of these responses.
The volunteer workforce is usually put on standby, for example, prior to a hurricane.
Yeah.
We know pretty much where it's going. Versus a tornado, you can start to follow the track, but they're a little bit more unpredictable. But like today, there's a weather situation possibly developing
today on Thursday,
to the west.
Yeah.
Yes, so those of us who have volunteered, we're looking to the sky.
Yeah.
We have the tornado app. We have things that will make us basically have the workforce ready to respond.
Yeah. As we get into severe weather season, that was one of the things you mentioned, the app a little bit, but that is a new feature as far as what is available to people. Talk about it a little bit. It's called the Red Cross First Aid app.
yeah, so we have actually 5 apps. Red Cross has 5 apps, the ones that affect us here in Northwest Ohio, because fortunately we don't have hurricanes and earthquakes that often in our area, is the First Aid app and the Tornado app. So the First Aid app is great for situations like Boston or Texas, and where you can download information. It's for free from Apple or Android devices. And on the First Aid app, I mean, anything you could think of, a head injury, a broken bone, heart attack, anything, right, exactly. You can go on and prepare yourself in the event something like that were to happen. You have the knowledge base.
So it's like a training app?
Yeah, but it also, you can go on there, right, as a reference.
Yeah,
if something were to happen.
It doesn't certify you as soon as you go to that app.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
But it's good to have those skills.
Right.
And the other thing is our Tornado app is a new one that just came out in March. And it is chock full of so many wonderful things. One thing we were talking about before the show is that this app, regardless if the app is running or not, the alarm will go off. A siren will go off on your phone, alerting you in the event of a tornado warning.
Okay.
So, horrible things that when the tornadoes happen, like the Lake Township Millbury, happen in the middle of the night, and so it gives you the ability to have that right there at your fingertips. In addition to that, you can text, call, email, or send us social media and say you're okay.
Okay.
And then there are other things too. You can earn badges, all kinds of different, really cool little features. And like I said, it's great because it's free.
Okay. And she mentioned Lake Millbury Township, and we're coming up on the anniversary this summer. Every year, obviously, we're hitting an anniversary. You were out there, and as we talk about these applications and responding to this, and you even mentioned the fact we are in severe weather season right now, and you are at the standby. go back in your mind and dealing with that and seeing the progress that's been made out there. I mean, obviously, a tough thing to deal with as a first responder, yes?
Yes, having been there about 2 hours after it happened, they were in the search mode. We knew there were fatalities. When you first arrived on scene, all of the people, whether it was Red Cross, law enforcement, you see the buildings, you see crunched cars, you see cars wrapped around the trees. It does impact you, but we have a job to do, so you focus on that.
Right.
Red Cross was there within a couple of hours. They had food, snacks for the responders. The next morning, the IRV vehicles were out. We were servicing all the clients who needed it, canvassing the area. We had shelters set up. We had a workforce out there that responded very quickly and worked with all of the other people.
How long have you been doing this?
Since Katrina.
Since Katrina.
Yeah,
and I mean, was there a lot of training that goes into it? I'm leading up to the fact of if people want to be on that first line of help, how do they go about becoming a volunteer?
There's a core set of classes, which also leads up to the fact that you can become an instructor. Once you've taken the classes, gotten a little bit of experience, you can become a Red Cross instructor for disaster courses. So you take a set of core courses like an overview, a shelter, and a shelter ops course, and things like that, damage assessment. These are all the kinds of things that we do. We're pretty much the first in line in terms of damage assessment, with partnering with the local emergency management agency within the county. So taking the classes, they're challenging, but they're interesting. You're not given tests. You don't have to study books. It's more, here's the practical and applied way. This is what we do. This is the Red Cross way. And there is a Red Cross way to do things. So it's, if you're in Ohio or New York or Texas, you can do it. And I can go up to someone and say, oh yes, I'm a Red Crosser. It's me too. We know it. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
It's a standardized form of training, and it works.
Okay.
It also helps too, you know, in times of major disasters where we can send volunteers, we call them deploying, from all over the nation really to other places, and they don't have to be retrained because it is congruent across the nation.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about something that's happening later this evening, and it's kind of an interesting, the article came out in the Toledo Blade, our media partner, the Toledo Blade, earlier this week, or a couple of weeks ago. My time gets off a little bit. I get up very early in the morning. But talk about the interesting connection between the American Red Cross and Bob Dylan.
Yeah, so we are cannot believe that it's just about time. It feels like it's been a really quick couple months here, and all of a sudden, you know, the show is Sunday night at the Stroh Center in Bowling Green. And because of our wonderful partnership with Bowling Green State University, we were able to bring Bob Dylan to town for a concert. The show starts at 7:30, doors open at 6:30. And he's doing a tour of college campuses and small area amphitheaters. Just a few sets, and we, like I said, we're just so fortunate to have him come here. Tickets are $35 and $45, and that you can get those right at the door. And then student tickets are $25, and that's any student from anywhere. You don't have to be a Bowling Green State University student in order to come. And
what is the genesis or the explanation? What is the connection there with Bob Dylan and the Red Cross?
How it happened, right? So really, Bob Dylan doesn't have any direct relationship with us. I think, like I said, it's just the relationship that we have with Bowling Green State University, and because of our relationship.
I was going to say, I was reading in the article, Bob and his band get his take, BG gets their take, and then you guys, whatever is made on top of that, is essentially fundraising money for the Red Cross, correct?
Right, yes, that's correct. Yes, so the more tickets we sell, the better.
Yeah.
So we encourage everyone really to come out and support us, and you know, all of our funds would go to disaster relief, things that we've been talking about tonight, but we also have those kind of first aid, CPR, AED courses, so be able to provide those, be able to connect military families, so in the event of a death or a birth, we are the contact between military families and that military member who is on base somewhere or throughout the world to say, you know, your baby boy was just bored, please come home.
Right. Do you think this is the start of more events like this, trying to get big name acts to come in and I guess be linked with organizations like the Red Cross?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. It certainly is a lot of work, and I think we had a huge learning curve dealing with the contracts and everything that comes with it, and setting up the marketing and kind of getting the word out to sell the tickets and everything. But it'll be a great night. We're really, and Dawes, the opening band is amazing.
Sue, the one thing I was going to ask you in our final minute or so, in watching, and we talked about it in our first segment, the good stories that came out of Boston, the good stories that came out of West Texas, and the first responders there, and the help that, when you watch that, obviously it's a little bit different from your perspective, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because I'm also a recently retired volunteer firefighter. So I know what goes on. I know how you feel the adrenaline, and you use the adrenaline for good, and it helps you get through things, and it can last for several hours. So you do what you've been trained to do, and it happens, and you respond. And then afterwards you go, oh my goodness, what went on? What did I see? And then responders themselves.
You don't process it there while you're doing it.
No, you do what you've been trained to do, and you focus on it. You're very, very focused. And that's all there is that scene, that time, that minute, that person, right then and there.
Yeah, well, I want to thank both of you for taking some time to talk with us here this afternoon. OneFundBoston.org, once again, is that website if you want to donate to the relief efforts there in Boston after the marathon tragedy. And also, of course, RedCross.org, always a place you can go, chock full of information. Stay with us. We'll wrap things up right after this.